Let us introduce myself first. I'm M Mahewari, Assistant Professor, Department of Biotechnology, JJ College of Arts and Science, Pudukkottai. Here my topic is immunity and their types. First, we can see the introduction to the immunity first. And the term immunity refers to the resistance exhibited by the host towards infections caused by microorganisms and their producing toxins. It is based on the property of self and non-self recognition. That means immunity is carried out by the process of recognition and disposal of non-self or materials that enter in the body from the outside of the environment. Immune response is a reaction of body against any foreign antigen, but protection against infectious disease is only a part of the immunity. Then these are the types of immunity. Here immunity is differentiated into two types. First one is the innate immunity and the second one is the acquired immunity. Innate immunity has four barriers, then anatomical barrier, phagocytic barriers, blood proteins, cytokines. Here first we can see the innate immunity. Innate immunity, it comes from the genetic and constitutional makeup, has no relationship with previous bacterial infection and immunization. Acts as a first line of defense against infections, microorganisms, their products, before they cause disease. The various non-specific different mechanisms which is present in here are of four types. The first one is the anatomical barriers, the second one is the physiological and chemical barriers, the third one is the biological barriers, that is the blood proteins, and fourth one is the general barriers. Okay, let us see the barriers in order wise. Then first one is the physiological and chemical barriers. Okay, this barrier prevents the entry of pathogens to resist infections. It includes skin, mucous membrane, coughing, and sneezing. Then mucous membrane. It is present in the respiratory and the gastrointestinal tract lined by mucous membrane. It blocks the microorganisms because of its sticky nature. Okay. Then coughing and sneezing. The mechanical actions may help in the driving out the foreign particles that enter the digestive and respiratory tract. Then physiological and chemical barriers. In here, the physiological and chemical barriers are temperature, low pH. Okay, then it also includes the human milk. Is very rich in antibacterial substances. That is, example, IgA, lactoferritin, neuromonic acid, etc. They fight against E. coli and staphylococci. Secretion of the digestive tract, stomach has microbial effect. This is due to the presence of HCl in the gastric juice. This HCl is secreted by oxyntic cell lining stomach. Nasal secretion and saliva, interferons, complements. Okay. Then third one is a biological barriers. It includes mononuclear phagocytic system, which was originally called reticuloendothelial systems, RES. Then biological barriers includes as endocytosis process also. What is that endocytosis? The process which cells absorb materials from the outside of the environment by engulfing them with their cell membrane. These are divided into two types based on the absorbing of materials from the outside of the environment. Okay, what are the types? Or that is phagocytosis and phagocytosis. Okay, then last one, the general barriers. Okay, that what are the general barriers? That is age. First one, the very young and old are most susceptible to infections. Then, if for example, fetus is protected by placental barriers, at old age stage, people have reduced or lost their host defenses. Okay, then next, this is acquired immunity. Okay, we can see the acquired immunity, that's next. Then what is that acquired immunity? Acquired immunity is otherwise called as adaptive immunity. Acquiring of immunity from the outside of the source is known as acquired immunity. It results in action of two major groups of cells. One is the lymphocytes and another one is the antigen presenting cells. Immunity is initiated by the recognition of foreign antigen and the response to this recognition. It is highly adaptive and has four important features here, the characteristics. Okay. Then first one is the antigen specificity. Then second one is diversity. Third one is immunological memory. Then fourth one is the recognition, self, non-self. Okay. In here, the types of acquired immunity, it are having two major part. One is active immunity and another one is a passive immunity. What is that active immunity? The individual's own immune system is the cause of this immunity. Then passive immunity is transferred from another person or an animal. Okay. This active immunity is having two stages. One is a natural one and another one is a artificial one. What is that natural? Antigens are introduced through natural exposure. Then artificial antigens are deliberately introduced in a vaccine. Okay. Then passive immunity. It also has two major things. One is a natural and another one is a artificial. In passive immunity, natural immunity, antibodies from the mother are transferred to her child across the placenta or in milk. Okay. In passive, that is artificial, antibody is produced from the another person for an animal or injected. Then next we have see the mechanisms of active immunity. Production of immunity against particular organisms after the exposure of that organism. Okay. Here the natural active immunity, okay, develops from processes by like infections. For example, infection like smallpoxes are cured by the active function of the immune system. Then artificial active immunity. Here, instead of natural infections, infection is created artificially by various types of vaccines. For example, polio vaccine. Okay. Then another one example is also cholera vaccine. Then action of lymphocytes and antigen presenting cells is also important in here. Here the lymphocytes action is possess antigen binding cell surface receptors. Then antigen presenting cells have class 2 MHC major histocompatibility complex on their surface and they present antigens to lymphocytes. It is are of two types. Okay, first one is a humoral immune response and the second one is a cell mediated immune response. Okay, it has two distinct forms. Okay, first one is a humoral and second one is a cell mediated immune response. Then in passive immunity, okay, occurring of antibodies passively from the immunized donor to a non-immunized recipient is known as a passive immunity. Okay, natural passive immunity occurs when antibodies are transferred from the donor to the recipient as a natural manner. For example, the antibodies from the mother to the fetus through the placenta. Then artificial passive immunity, transfer of antibodies sensitized lymphocytes from immunized donor to the non-immunized recipient artificially. For example, antibodies produced in the horse serum and genetically modified organism. Here the presentation gives us these details. Okay, for humoral immunity and cell mediated immunity. Okay, just enough after my topic. Thank you.